Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is Brutus Monroe Blog Hop Day. It's Wednesday, and we have an Anything Goes challenge. So I did anything. I pulled out a couple different stamps and a lot of other little fun products, and so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I did was tape together two square dies because I'm going to put those right in the center of that Glitterstock. I hate to waste gorgeous paper like that, so I'm going to put it right through the center. I have plans for that paper. And the goal with that, the reason I taped those two together is to get a little bit of like a frame. And so I'm going to save that other little square for something else. And then I'm going to trim down some of this pattern paper from the Autumn Foliage set. And then none will be the wiser when I put things together. See how that's going to go? You won't be able to tell that I cut right out of the center of that Glitterstock and didn't waste a bit of it. Now I'm taking the smallest of those square dies and I'm going to cut out a panel or a frame from the inside of my pattern paper, and that is where my Glitterstock frame is going to go over the top of that. So that way it kind of gives it this finishing look and it ties all those pieces together, and now I have two cute little squares that I can save for something else. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down using some Brutus Monroe craft glue, and then I will probably set that off to the side to dry here while I work on my stamping. And I've grabbed some Neenah cream cardstock, and I'm going to pull out the Pumpkin Faces stamp set. This thing is so cute. You could put little faces on all these different pumpkins. There are so many different pumpkins in this set, but I'm not going to put any faces on it this time. My plan is to just make this look like a fall card. I have plans for it later on as well, but I had lined this up inside of my mini Misti, and I'm inking this up with some Memento Espresso Truffle. My goal was originally to do some alcohol marker coloring, which is why I use the Memento and the Neenah cream cardstock. I'm glad that I used the brown because that just worked really well with what I was doing, but I don't end up using any alcohol markers. Now I'm lining up my sentiment inside the mini Misti, and that sentiment comes from Super Sentimental. There's a couple really great sentiment stamps from Brutus Monroe out right now, and this is one of them. And so I stamped that a couple times, and I'm going to set that off to the side. So I decided to do some colored pencil coloring with my Arteza colored pencils. These are fun, and this paper is really nice for it because this paper is really smooth. And I do apologize right up front, sometimes because I'm moving my hands so quickly, my camera kind of goes out of focus a few times. So I'm only going to show you the coloring of, see, there it goes. I'm only going to show you the coloring of one of the pumpkins because I do them all the exact same. The colors that I chose to use were Tuscan Sun. This is the color I first put down. And this next color is orange. And the key, like with any coloring really, any medium, is layers. And with colored pencils, you want a very light hand because if you don't, you're going to end up with a lot of wax buildup potentially, depending on what kind of pencils that you use. And then you'll have a really hard time coloring over the top. So you just have to use a light hand, which is hard for somebody like me because I have a tendency to go kind of heavy-handed, but it's definitely a practice thing. You just, like with all mediums, as I've said before, practice, practice, practice. But start off with a light hand with every color that you put down and work in layers. This next color that I've grabbed is blood orange. So I'm using a 3-color blend here. So I've got, a light, almost like a yellow, and then the orange and the blood orange, and you can see how my pumpkin is starting to come together, and there's, you can definitely start to see that there's going to be some dimension with this. There's light areas, there's dark areas, and then I just keep going back over some of those areas, trying to draw some of that color out so I don't have such stark lines. And then I just, like I said, go back and forth with the coloring. Colored pencil coloring really isn't my favorite medium to use right out of the gate usually, but I do always really enjoy seeing it all come together, and I love watching other people do it too. So don't be afraid to get in there and get a little darker. As long as you're using a fairly light hand, you shouldn't have any problem kind of bringing that gradient out a little bit. And it's just a process of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, you can definitely see where I'm starting to get those pumpkin lines. It's starting to really come together, and I'm really becoming quite happy with it. Again, sorry that my camera keeps kind of focusing in and out. For my stem, I used the color Espresso, and that's the only color that I used. I figured it was such a small area that would be okay. So now that they are all colored, I'm gonna fussy cut. I know that's so surprising for any of you that actually watch me. I don't mind fussy cutting, I've said that a million times, and with images like this, they're so easy to cut out, it's just not a big deal. So yeah, I'll cut all of those out, just leaving a little cream colored border around each one, and they'll be fine, they're good. Now it's time to start working on some assembly, so I've got another piece of cream cardstock that I'm going to put over that one piece that I cut out so that you can't see it. And then I will start to use some foam tape. This is the Brutus Monroe foam tape, and I'm going to cover the back of that piece that I have there, leaving the very bottom section, so you can see at the bottom of that diamond I don't put any there. There's a reason for that. My base is some more of that Neenah cream cardstock that I had cut to 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I scored it at 5 1/2 inches. And now I'm going to glue down my green Glitterstock to cover the entire card base. So when I first originally had this Glitterstock, it was cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. It was actually a free with purchase through Brutus Monroe. They had a whole stack of them. Glad I didn't miss that one, and they're always doing cool promotions like that. So now I'm just going to peel off the backing paper to the foam tape, and I like to use a paper piercer to help me do that. And sometimes I get a little carried away and I don't get the paper piercer quite under the pan or the piece of the release paper, but it's all good. We're ready to start assembling. So now you can see that I have that beautiful border of Glitterstock all around, and then I also have that cool frame. All right, we're gonna start working on where we're gonna place our pumpkins and our sentiment. And so I want that back pumpkin to be adhered flush to the paper. So I just used some craft glue with that, and then I put foam tape on my other 2 pumpkins, and I'll peel off those backing papers, and I'm going to stick those down so it gives that, you know, element of dimension in there. So there's 1 pumpkin to the back and those other 2 are in the front. I do decide with my sentiment that I'm going to give it a fishtail banner, so I cut into the center and then I let those sides go right into that center. As you can see, I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but that's why I'm showing it. And then I'll have a cool fishtail banner there. And then I'm going to adhere that down with some more of the Brutus Monroe craft glue. But I don't stop there. I pull out some Pretty Pink Posh Espresso sequins. I don't know if they make these anymore. I've had these for eons, but I have them in 4 mm and 6 mm. So I'm using my crystal katana along with my craft glue, and then I'm going to adhere those down. Just kind of the way I put them on, sometimes I try to get it so that your eye will follow the line of it, but sometimes when I'm putting it on, it just like my brain, I don't know. I feel like this looks okay though. And if I had been thinking, I would have done my stamping on the inside before I'd adhered anything, but I'm taking a couple of those pumpkins. I'm going to ink those up with some Distress Oxide in the color Spiced Marmalade. I thought about doing 3, but then I thought 2 was plenty. And then I do take that leftover piece of pattern paper that I had from before, and I'm just going to glue that on the inside. And for a final bit, I'm going to stamp another sentiment from the Super Sentimental that says, "You're amazing," right over those pumpkins. And then that is going to end up finishing off this card. So, like I said, this is a part of a blog hop, so I will have my blog posted down below. So go ahead, and that's in the description box along with all the items that I used. So go ahead and head down there and click on that and head over to my blog so that you can check out the other Inspiration Team members' blogs, because you don't want to miss what they've been up to. So, and if you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.